Welcome to IB Online. I'm MJ, your instructor for A-level Sociology. Today's topic is in continuation to the previous topic that we discussed in the last lesson. We were discussing agencies of socialization and social control. And while discussing these agencies of socialization and social control, we had initially spoken about primary socialization agencies. Let's move on and talk about agencies of secondary socialization now. So, secondary socialization refers to situations in which children learn ideas, attitudes, values, norms, and skills both inside and outside the home from sources other than their parents or their kin. Remember, we had spoken about how our primary socialization is done typically by our family and along with our family, our peer group. So there are numerous other agencies besides family and peer group, like the media, like the education system, like religion, so on and so forth. These agencies, along with others, we refer to them as examples of secondary socialization. As children get older, they come into everyday contact with several agents to socialization that have a significant influence on their actions and their perceptions of social reality. As you grow older, you start leaving home more, you start getting more of exposure, you start consuming the media, you start learning more about religion, and consequently you end up picking up things from everything that happens around you. So, agencies of secondary socialization include schools, religious organizations, and the media. In some cases, such as education, we are in daily contact with other members of the group without ever developing a primary attachment to them. In other examples, such as admiring a particular actor or musician, we may never meet the rest of the group, yet we might be influenced by the behavior in several ways. Now, this both of these examples, the first example was of how you could consider the education system as an example of secondary socialization and social control. And at the same time, when we speak about the media, at times what happens is we end up copying a lot. We end up not only copying, we end up showing a lot of approval towards our celebrities. Yeah, I think copying is a better word. We end up copying and mimicking and imitating our celebrities and things that we come across through the media. Now, there are many people that you might not even come across in your entire life. Like, for instance, your favorite celebrity. You might not come across your favorite sports person. You might not come across your favorite celebrity through the television or through the movies, through Bollywood, through Hollywood. Yet you might be affected. You might be influenced by them. They would all be considered as agents of secondary socialization. Taking it ahead, the most important type of secondary socialization is probably the education system, in which children spend most of their childhood and adolescence. Now, over here, we'd start off with discussing how the education system is an example of secondary socialization and social control. As we speak about education over here, I'm sure everyone would agree, if we speak about the education system usually runs around two core types of curriculums, or two main type of curriculums. The first is referred to as the formal curriculum. That is the things that are being taught to you through the syllabus at school. The subjects that you study at school, they would all be seen as examples of the formal curriculum. However, on the other hand, along with the formal curriculum, there's another form of curriculum referred to as the informal curriculum, which is the hidden curriculum, or which is also known as the hidden curriculum. Now, why is it that we refer to this second category as the hidden curriculum? We refer to the second category as the hidden curriculum because things that you learn at school that aren't exactly a part of your syllabus, we refer to them as informal curriculum or hidden curriculum, because they aren't directly they aren't you haven't really signed up directly for them. For instance, when you're attending school, as you go to school, there are so many things that are taught to you that you get to learn from the school. Now, when you get admission at a school or a college, you get admission to typically cater to the academic needs, right? That's exactly why your parents would send you to school in most cases. However, along with your academic needs being catered to, there is so much more that you get to learn from the education system too. For instance, as you go to school, learn, you realize, you understand how there are different individuals, how there are individuals from different social class background, how there are different individuals from different races, how there are individuals from different sects which are not members of your family, and how to act and interact with them. So at school you taught punctuality, at school you taught discipline. Now this isn't something that you primarily signed up for while getting admission at school or being a part of the education system. Nonetheless, this is something that you do learn from the school, and hence we refer to this as an informal curriculum, also known as the hidden curriculum. Now, we learn to limit our individual desires at school. I'm sure you can relate to this better. You learn to limit your individual desires at school. What do we mean when we say, when we talk about learning to limit our individual desires at school? If you're attending a lesson, attending a class, you cannot just stand up, walk out of the room. You cannot just, I mean, from in many cases, even if you are to use the restroom, you need to seek permission from your teacher. So your individual desires, you cannot just stand up, walk out of the classroom, go and sit in the cafeteria, go and buy things from the canteen, right? So you learn to limit your individual desires. You cannot just stand up, leave your classroom, and go back home whenever you feel like. So all of this is a part of your socialization process. All of this is an example of secondary socialization. Number two, it at school or the education system helps interact with a wider non-family audience. When you are at home, the people that you interact with, the people that you encounter, they're your family members. So when you're at school, you come across an audience that is not your immediate that's not your family, nor they nor my nor your kin, right? So at school, when you're at school, you learn, or you get a platform where you could where you receive a wider audience. Now, for instance, let's just say if you're someone who is good with playing guitar, right? At school, you'd get a better audience, you'd get a wider audience there to show your skill, to further develop your skill. According to the interactionist Talcott Parsons, education system emancipates individuals from primary attachment. Of course, it emancipates individuals from primary attachment, even if you talk about a toddler, even if you talk about a young child who is like 4, 5, 6 years old. When the parent leaves the child at school, and the amount of child, let's just say a 6-year-old being dropped at school, the 6-year-old initially would probably spend 4 to 5 hours without their parents. So the education system emancipates you from primary attachments. It helps internalize societal norms and values. Now, at home, you are taught about the norms and values that are acceptable within a society. But as you move out of home and enter into the education system, there are more chances of you acquiring knowledge on the norms, the values, the mores, the acceptables, the not so acceptable things that are there in your society. Schools teach a range of roles. Schools would teach you how to play the role of a friend. The schools would teach, of course, if I talk about the range of roles that you get to learn from the education system as a student, the way you would interact with a friend would be different from the way you interact with someone from the admin, would be different from the way you interact with a teacher. So all of these roles, they're being taught to you through the education system, and all of these, they are examples of your hidden curriculum. Schools teach you a range of different values. There are some values that are taught to you in an overt or an open manner, and there are others that are taught to you otherwise in a covert or a hidden manner. Schools teach you the value of achievement. Schools teach you the value of competition. Schools teach you teamwork. Schools teach you how to cooperate. According to this Marxist, neo-Marxist actually, Bowles and Gintis. Marxism, we discuss Marxism in the next lesson or the lesson after that. So Bowles and Gintis, these American economists, they came up with the correspondence theory. Now, what is this correspondence theory that Bowles and Gintis came up with? According to Bowles and Gintis, the education system, or let's make it like this, according to Bowles and Gintis, what students get to experience at school actually corresponds to their future professional life. Let me repeat, what pupils, what students learn at school actually corresponds to their future professional life. Now, what do I mean when I say, when I use the word correspondence over here? Now, for instance, at school, you're taught, at school, you're disciplined, right? At school, you're disciplined. At school, you're taught to be punctual. Now, this punctuality that has been taught to you at school today, this would help you as you step into your professional life. At school, there are certain rules and regulations that are there when it comes to what you wear. There are certain things that you're allowed to wear. There are others you are discouraged from. All of this eventually impacts your professional life. So, and again, because Bautz's agendas, they're Marxists, there's a lot more to it. But of course, when we'd be studying Marxism, we'd be able to discuss this better. So the education system, in the education system, behavior is reinforced through different sanctions, through positive sanctions and negative sanctions. These sanctions, we've spoken about these sanctions in the previous lesson. And as we speak about these sanctions, positive sanctions could be you getting rewarded, negative sanctions could be you being punished. Now, let's have a look at what the content in the book looks like. Education system as a form of secondary socialization. Like I had initially said, education system teaches you two different curriculums. It's the formal or the academic curriculum that is taught to you through the syllabus. And then there's this hidden curriculum, which is also referred to as the informal curriculum. Education involves two kinds of curriculum. Formal curriculum that specifies the subjects, knowledge, and skills that children are explicitly taught in school. One, hidden curriculum, the things we learn from the experiences of attending school, such as how to deal with strangers, listen to adult authority, and have respect for the system. School is also a place where we learn to limit our individual desires, to think about the needs of others rather than our own. Schools may be one of the first time that children are separated from their parents for any length of time. Like I said, before you start school, it is actually the education system. It's actually the school for most people, in many cases, the first instance where you are where you get to be, or where you experience a separation from your parents. So it provides both opportunities to demonstrate talents to a wider non-family audiences, and challenges the need to learn, for example, how to deal with people who are not family and with authority figures such as teachers too. Like I'd given an example, if you're someone who is really good with chess, at home you could only play chess with your family members. As you step into the education system, there's a possibility that your school provides you with a better platform, of course, with a wider audience. At the same time, there are certain challenges that you encounter through the education system too. You learn the education system in most cases easy ways, and in others not so. The education system teaches you how to interact, how to deal with individuals on an instrumental basis, on an instrumental level. Taking this ahead, according to Talcott Parsons in 1959, he argued that schools play a particularly significant role in secondary socialization. The first one, according to Parsons, schools emancipate the child from primary attachment to the family. It moves children away from the affective relationship, moving children away from the affective relationship found in the family, and introduces them to the instrumental relationships they will meet in adult life. It is, in effect, a bridge. Parsons very nicely puts this, it is in effect a bridge between the family home and the wider society. So here's your family, here's the wider society, and the school plays the role of a bridge. It trains you how to be a member that is that fits in well into the wider society. Number one. Number two, it allows children to internalize a level of society's values and norms that is a step higher than those learned within families. Through interaction with strangers in the adult education system, a child begins to adopt wider society social values into their personal value system. This process loosens the hold of primary groups and allows children to gradually mix into adult society, something that also promotes social solidarity and value consensus. Now, at school, let's just say if you are the youngest kid, you might be pampered, you might be your parents' favorite, or you could be a middle child, or you could be the oldest one as well. But remember, as you step into the education system, you're treated just like everyone else is treated. And when you're treated just like everyone else is treated, you are in an indirect manner being taught that tomorrow, when you step into the professional life, tomorrow, when you're a part of the society, as you grow older, as you turn into an adult, there would be no favoritism that you might expect to favor you. Now, schools, there are two more terms over here. Schools promote social solidarity, togetherness, right? Togetherness. Value consensus. Schools teach you value consensus. What does the word consensus mean over here? Consensus means mutual agreement. Value consensus is mutually agreeing to the values that we hold in a society. For instance, if it's the school where you're taught when the national anthem is uh, sung, you're not supposed to sit. Instead, you need to stand up. So, in other words, it's the education system that is teaching you how to value something, taking it ahead. And let's speak about, yeah, this Marxism, this perspective bit. We would be discussing this in the next lesson. Like any institution, schools involve a range of roles such as teacher and student, which are themselves linked to a range of related roles called a role set. This further extends the idea of cultural relationship because we become fixed into a range of accepted behaviors. A student, for example, plays this role in relation to the roles that others are playing in the social environment. Like I'd given an example, if you're a student, the way you interact with other students in the classroom is different from the way you interact with students who, let's just say, your seniors, students of different ages. Again, it's a different way you interact with teachers from different subjects. Again, it is a different way when you interact with teachers who are teachers there at that particular school, but they aren't really your teachers. Again, it's a different way through which you interact with school building staff, such as caretakers, the domestic staff, the floor staff that is available, the administration staff, parents and guardians, so on and so forth. Schools teach a range of values. These range from the idea that students should work hard to achieve qualification. Now, there are a range of values that are taught to you through the education system. For instance, it's the education system that teaches you, or students are taught through the education system, to value hard work, to value academic qualification, to value individual competition, to value teamwork, to value conformity, to value showing respect towards authority. All of these, they are openly taught to you while you are a part of the education system. In many education systems, for example, one hidden value is that academic ability, such as a talent for writing essays, is more like highly valued than work related ability, such as bricklaying. Another value is individual achievement. Individual achievement at school, you constantly uh, strive towards getting the first position, the second position, the third position. As you grow older, then you constantly keep on working towards getting a good grade. So this value of individual achievement is instilled in you through the education system too. Working with others may be valued in the workplace, but in school may be seen as copying and wrong. Many of these values relate not just to education, but also to the wider social world. Again, we had spoken about Bowles and Gintas. Bowles and Gintas, I told you guys, are Marxists, and according to Karl Marx, the education system works towards benefiting the students from benefiting rather rich students while exploiting poor students. This is Karl Marx, just in case. And you would learn about Marxism in the next lesson, the next lesson or the lesson after that. So we'd probably be starting off with structuralism and the perspectives in the next lesson, and the lesson after that would probably have Marxism in it. So, from a Marxist perspective, Bowles and Gintas argue that there's a correspondence between school norms and workplace norms. Schools prepare students for adult work by socializing them into values and norms that will make them uncomplaining workers. So, schools prepare students for adult work by socializing them into values and norms that will make them uncomplaining workers. Like I said, schools teach you how to be punctual. Schools teach you the importance of where you are physically supposed to be at a particular time. For instance, let's just say if you have a sociology lesson from 10 to 11 a.m. in the morning, you're expected to be in the sociology class and not anywhere else. Likewise, as you step into your workplace, if your work starts at 9, you're supposed to be behind your desk at 9. So the schools teach students the right of those in authority to give orders that must be obeyed. Like at school, teachers give you orders, teachers make you do things. As you grow older, as you turn into an adult, you step into your professional life, you would be taught, or you'd see how the boss at work is an authoritative figure and keeps on demanding, keeps on demanding uh, uncritical acceptance towards orders. So these ideas are backed up by positive sanctions that include the gaining of grades, qualifications, and prizes, as well as more personal things such as praise and encouragement. On the negative side, schools use punishment, detention, suspensions, and exclusions as well. Failure to achieve qualifications or gaining a reputation of being unintelligent also function as a negative sanction. These sanctions prepare children for sanctions at work, from bonuses for good work to the threat of being sacked. Now, this is where we spoke about how the education system can be seen as an agent of secondary socialization. Let me remind you all, we are discussing all of this under the heading of agencies of socialization, and not only agencies of socialization, but at the same time agencies of social control too. So we saw how the education system teaches us a lot, and at the same time the education system is seen to be responsible for maintaining social control as well. Now, I think we just this lesson might be a little longer, but I just take it ahead and move on to another agency of secondary socialization, that is the mass media. Mass media, what does the word mass media mean? Mass media is a term that we typically use to refer to newspapers, television, books, magazines. As we've stepped into the postmodern era today in this contemporary society, the internet and anything and everything related to internet, specifically social media, all of this, they're examples of mass media. Having a look at what Mr. Neil Postman in 1985 had to say about the media. According to Neil Postman, back in 1985, that is good about, say, 39, 40 years. So according to Neil Postman, media today has replaced family as an agency of socialization. Now, Postman came up with this back in 1985. Imagine how relatable, how correct this has turned out to be today. There is so much that you see kids learning from the media. They keep on picking up on so many things, including accents. All of this is today, the amount of time young kids, I've seen toddlers using tablets, or I've seen toddlers entertaining themselves through the television. I've seen toddlers watching YouTube, videos on YouTube, Netflix. All of this is eventually socializing them. So, the mass media is also referred to as an impersonal agency of socialization, as an impersonal agency of socialization. Now, what do I mean when I say impersonal agency of socialization? See, like I had mentioned earlier, you might not, or you might never come across your favorite celebrity, yet you might be learning so much from him or her. The mass media has more short-term effect on behaviors than it has long-term effects. So short-term effects might include imitation. You've seen how kids, and not so kids, even in many cases adults, they start imitating after consuming media. I mean, they've consumed media, if they've been exposed to something on the media, they might end up redoing it, they might end up repeating it, they might end up imitating it. Likewise, according to Potter in 2003, the media, another short-term effect of media is desensitization. For instance, if you are someone who has been exposed to a lot of violence through the media, you might eventually feel desensitized, right? Desensitized in the sense that, I mean, if every now and then you come across news about people being killed, a time would come then and that it might not really make you sad. Sad but true. Another short-term effect of media is learning. We get to learn from the media as well. However, on the other hand, if we speak about long-term effects of the media, according to Philo et al. Means and others in 1982, it's through the it's through the media, it's because of the media that our consumerism or our consumerist patterns get affected, the way we start consuming things. If you're someone who is brand conscious, guess what? You learned it through the media, right? Another important long-term effect that media could have on you is the agenda setting. For instance, if you're watching any something on the television, or if I may give you any other example, the extent to which you start holding opinions for different people in different part of the world, there's a possibility that all of this is being done to you intentionally. All of the content that you're consuming today is deliberately being made available to you through a proper agenda. So media could have a short-term effect, and the media could have a long-term effect on individuals too. Media influences certain individual behavior. According to Potter, again, through media, individuals experience a process of habituation. You get habitual towards things. According to another functionalist Durkheim, the media plays an important role when it comes to marking boundaries or marking boundaries. I mean, there are certain things that might not have been acceptable 20, 30 years back, but today with the passage of time, because now, for instance, we may also refer to uh, same-sex families, or we may also refer to cohabitation, also referred to as live-in relationships. Now, this was something that was not acceptable in anywhere, almost anywhere. Let's just say back in the 19th century. Today, in the 21st century, what the media does is the media keeps on pushing more and more and more and more and more, to the point that people start showing acceptance towards things that were previously not considered to be accepted. Again, the media plays an important role in terms of reinforcing individual behavior through sanctions, positive sanctions and negative sanctions, right? If the media keeps on talking about something, an act, an event in a positive manner, you'd want to be a part of it. If the media keeps on referring to something in a negative manner, you might want to refrain yourself from. So, having a look at the media, let's have a look at what these paragraphs have. It would again be pretty much in line with what we just discussed on the last slide. Some sociologists like Postman claim that in Western societies, the media replaced the family in the 20th century as the main source of socialization, especially for children and young people. It is argued that the media is its in all its varied forms has a significant influence on the types of social values and norms acquired by both children and adults. The media are slightly unusual secondary agencies because our relationship with it is pretty impersonal. We're unlikely to meet those doing the socialization. While there's little evidence that the media has a direct long term effect on behavior, there's stronger evidence for short term effects. Advertising, for example, aims to make short term changes in behavior by encouraging people to try different products. I'm sure this is all relatable. Potter in 2003 suggests that short term effects of media include number one, imitation, such as copying behavior seen on television. Number two, desensitization. That is the idea that constant and repeated experiences of something such as violence or poverty gradually lowers our emotional reaction. Number three, learning, in which we are introduced to new ideas and places. Now, taking this ahead, there's also some evidence for indirect long-term effects in that people come to accept as natural values or other aspects of social life that are socially constructed. Consumerism, we've spoken about. Agenda setting, we've spoken about. I'll just read through this for you. Advertising and much other media content takes as natural the active and ever increasing pursuit of goods and services that define lifestyle and identities in contemporary capitalist societies. Again, we are living in a consumeristic, we're living in a materialistic world. The we fear experience of negative and violent media. The fear of experiencing negative and violence on media leads to some people to overestimate things such as the extent of crime or their chances of being a victim of terrorism or of a disaster. Now, the second point I'd like to explain this to you. You know what? At times, what happens is the media keeps on emphasizing on a particular event, on a particular act so much that it ends up creating moral panic amongst people. Now, what does the word moral panic mean over here? As we use the word moral panic, we are referring to we referring to the idea that the media starts overemphasizing or the media starts overemphasizing something, or the media starts showing something so much that we start fearing it. Now, for instance, the amount of crime, the amount of street crime, if I may give you an example, in, let's just say, Karachi, the extent to which individuals talk about, or the media keeps on talking about street crime, mobile snatching. It has created a moral panic. It has created a fear in individuals to the extent, to the point that you all or we all feel that we God forbid, might be the next victim. So, the third point, agenda setting. Philo et al. Argue that the media determine how something will be debated in the UK. For example, immigration is discussed in the media mainly in terms of numbers of immigrants, with an assumption that high numbers are bad. This gets in the way of the consideration of the qualitative effects of immigration on British society. I'll give you a better, I wouldn't say better, I'll give you an easier example. Now, this, the way Palestine is being discussed, or the way Gaza is being discussed, or the way Israel is being discussed, of course, if you come across a news on this particular issue through the Western media, they try to portray a very different image of it as compared to you watching something related to Gaza and Palestine on a country that has a Muslim population. So the media shows you things through a proper agenda. Moving on, the extent to which the media can enforce values is uncertain. However, the media are undoubtedly influential in supporting or weakening certain values. It has a loud voice in debate over nationality, for example, what it means to be a Peruvian or a Chinese. It also promotes certain values over others. For example, many English newspapers take an anti-European European Union stance. Potter suggests that media influences come about through a process of habituation. The more people experience certain images and ideas, the more likely it is that they will add them to their personal value system. Now, the more you're told, the more images that you come across through the media on the extent to which uh, Palestinians are being brutally victimized, the more you'd start taking things or start taking it personally. Now, in relation to norms, the media have what Durkheim calls a boundary marking function as well. This is the gentleman Durkheim, Emily Durkheim. It promotes acceptable and unacceptable forms of behavior to strengthen perceptions of expected behavior. The media may try to preserve particular ways of behaving through campaigns to save the family, for example, but they may also promote changes in behavior such as campaigns against racism. To strengthen or reinforce their message, the media use a range of sanctions, positive sanctions involving the use of praise, positive pictures, and uncritical messages, uncritical features. Negative sanctions might include being pictured in a negative post, critical article, or behavior being publicly criticized. So, again, like I keep on saying, sociology for sociology, the more you read, the better you understand, the more you write, the better grade you end up getting. Next in line, we would discuss the role that religion plays when it comes as when religion is seen as a secondary agency of socialization. The third agency of secondary socialization is religion, amongst many others. There are many other agencies of secondary socialization. We had initially spoken about education, then we spoke about media, and now we're discussing religion. Now, as we speak about religion over here, religion for the longest of time has been the most important agency of socialization after family, or rather say the most important agency of secondary socialization, especially back in the 20th century. There was more of importance that was given to religion when it came to the socialization process of individuals. However, today, with the passage of time, it has been noted by many sociologists that our societies are experiencing secularization. Now, it's pretty important that we understand what the word secularization over here means. Secularization is a term that we use to refer to a situation when religion is experiencing a decline within the society. If we believe that religion is experiencing a decline in the society as a whole, don't you think the impact religion would have possibly had on individuals, the influence it would have had on individual behavior, and the socialization process would reduce too? So, in the 21st century, in contemporary societies, comparatively, there's a lesser role that religion plays when it comes to the socialization process. Taking this ahead, we'd speak about how religion still plays a very important role in many cases when it comes to certain ceremonies. For instance, when you're getting married, when you're attending a funeral. See, regardless of the extent to which religion is experiencing a decline in our part of the world, let's just say, but even today, the ceremonial role that religion used to play, it still does. Religion transmits important moral values to individuals as well, and these important moral values, they are very often transformed into legal rules, or become a part of the legal system. Become a part of the constitution. For instance, for instance, killing someone because life is considered to be precious. Religions across board, traditional conventional religions across board, they value life, and because they value life, murdering someone is considered to be a sin. This is a moral value, but at the same time, this has today been translated into, or today this has become a part of the legal system too, where murdering someone is considered to be a major offense, a major crime. So religion, it transmits many important moral values. It's a powerful force for believers. Is it is religion helps design or religion helps individuals get to learn how they're expected to live their lives. Religion designs lives for believers. Religion at the same time has been seen as a source of conflict by many individuals, as for many individuals as well. There are many conflicts that arise between religions. In many cases, there are conflicts between Jews and Muslims. In many cases, there are conflicts between Hindus and Muslims. There are many In many cases, these are examples of where religion has played the role of conflict, bringing in conflict between different individuals. At the same time, there are certain conflicts that arise within religions too. For instance, in the Northern Ireland, there are conflicts between Catholics and Protestants. For instance, in some parts of the world, in some parts of the Muslim dominated countries, there are conflicts between Sunnis and Shias. So religion in many cases leads to individuals dressing up in a particular manner. Religion at the same time has been accused today of promoting patriarchy. Now, what is patriarchy? Patriarchy is male domination. However, recently, with the passage of time, according to Swetos, in the year 1998, this has changed. Today, religions have started being more female friendly. Not to forget towards the end that religion is an important force when it comes to making individuals behave in a particular manner. And this is usually done through positive and negative sanctions, both. To begin with, until the late 20th century, religion played a key role in socialization in Western societies, as both church attendance and belief in God were high. However, in the 21st century, social surveys suggest that Europeans are increasingly non religious. Some sociologists even claim that Western societies have experienced a religious decline, that is, secularization. Like we discussed, earlier, like we discussed on the previous slide, if religion in itself is experiencing a decline, don't you think the effect it would have had on individuals would decline too? However, whether or not we see ourselves as religious, religion plays a significant role in the general socialization process in many societies, particularly in relation to ceremonial functions such as marriages and funerals. It can also be argued that important moral values, very strong beliefs about how people should behave, are influenced by religious values. For example, several of the 10 commandments in the Christian religion are reflected in the legal system around the world. The unacceptability of some crimes, such as theft and murder, is emphasized in world religions as well. Again, ahead, religious values are powerful forces for those who believe in religion. Religion can be regarded as a design for living. Now, for Muslims, Quran provides you with a design or a way to live your life, a force that provides help and guidance to live a life as God wishes. But religious beliefs and values can also be a source of conflict. Like I said, a source of conflict between religions, a source of conflict within religions as well. Taking this ahead, religious values are frequently displayed through styles of dress such as Muslims wearing hijab or Sikhs wearing turban, something that indicates both their level of religiosity. Now, this indicates the level of religiosity, as well as this is a way through which you could show your ethnic identity to others. Many of the world's major religions, from Islam to Christianity, have been said to be promoting patriarchy. Patriarchy is male domination. Religions have been accused of promoting patriarchy through both their general organization and the gender roles and values they encourage. However, they also promote concepts of love and care that can be attractive to people and can be seen as providing women with a sense of shelter and safety in a threatening world and belonging. Swetos in 1998 argues that religions are going through important changes today that are making them more female friendly. For example, God is increasingly shown as loving and consoling rather than as authoritarian and judgmental. And clergy are seen seen as helping professionals rather than a representation representatives of God's justice. Now, religions apply positive sanctions on their followers in different ways. For example, the concept of rebirth in Hinduism and ideas of heaven in Christianity. The concept of rebirth in Hinduism, or in Islam, the concept of hell and heaven and hell. If you live your life in a good manner, you're offered good things ahead. You promised, rather, you promised good life ahead after death. And at the same time, religion has certain negative sanctions too. They're also many and varied. Catholicism, for example, has the sanction of excommunication, that is exclusion from the church, whereas some forms of Islam specify a range of punishments for those who break the Sharia law. Such punishments may also be applied to non-believers in theocratic societies or religious societies such as Iran, where government is dominated by religious authorities. So we were discussing the extent to which education, media, and religion play an important role as agencies of secondary socialization, not only agencies of secondary socialization, but at the same time, agencies of maintaining social control too. Again, for the third time in a row, sociology is a subject. The more you read, the better you understand. The more you write, the better grade you get. I'd strongly advise you to read through this content from the book so that you are able to understand it better, to be able to write better answers. Now, these are a couple of questions that might help you test the extent to which you have understood this topic. Now, how is it that we are to attempt these questions is something that I would be teaching you after a couple of more lessons, because I want to cover the syllabus a bit before I move on to that part. For now, keep these questions in mind. For now, read. The more you read, the better you understand this. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.